Welcome to Horton Implants Oral Bites with your hosts, Kate Bootman, Will Murphy, and Carl Horton.
Normal birthday thing, just a couple of hours of,
Yeah.
drinking and bonhomie.
Lovely.
Well, hello.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Everybody.
Yep.
I'm back.
Keeping order.
It's like I've never been away. Boys, I hope you're in good order last week. Well, who's joking? I've seen it, I know.
Yeah.
How are you both?
Very good. How are you?
Good. Oh, fair to middling. You're looking rather dapper, Will. Anybody think you were going out?
Well, I think I might just do that.
Why not? It's a cheeky Friday night.
It's Friday night.
Absolutely. Everybody out there, hope you're okay. Hope you've had a nice week. Weather's not been too bad. That's a bonus, right? Going into the weekend, let's hope we have a bit more. Gentlemen, it's lovely to see you again. I've missed you terrible. I've shed so many tears, but I am back. So let's delve straight in there. Mr. Murphy, give us a lowdown. How's your week been?
Week's been good, very busy. It's been one of those lovely 4-day weeks, which I know I'm getting very fond of. So the jobs just keep coming in thick and fast. Nothing particularly unusual, just all the good solid stuff. I know we've talked a lot about full art stuff, but I think probably a lot of the bread and butter is the singles or the the small bridge cases. I must say I do quite like those. Getting it all done and dusted, pretty straightforward. So that's been really good. And today I've been sort of quite organised and actually trying to do an advert for an associate. So
okay,
if there are any prospective dentists out there who might want to do a day in Birmingham and a day in Norwich, then please message me.
Private work?
We are all private. Yeah. We've got a significant implant list and we seem to be fielding a lot of new patients. So, just somebody who can take up that slack, look after our patients. Ideally, they would have, some post-nominal letters after their name, either a master's or master's level diploma, or have had done some good quality training, say Tipton training type stuff. And Paul is very kindly going to run a little ad for me as well. So that's been occupying my time really.
Who wouldn't want to work with you, right? I mean, your phone's going to go off.
3-day week. You'll be down to a 3-day week. That's what it is.
You've rumbled me.
Yeah.
We have indeed. Well, in a moment, I want to come back to talking about the full arch work versus, if you like, crowns and bridges, implants, if that's okay. So
of course,
please do remind me. Mr. Horton, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks very much for asking.
Good.
Yourself?
How was
fair to middling?
How's your week been?
Yeah, eventful. Lots of again, like Will said, lots of consultations coming through the door, which is great. That's wonderful. Some little changes over at not Wolverhampton at all, over at Telford with Carlton Chambers on Monday. So some scanning we did there for some restorations. Real nice single units. And then we had a chat with somebody that we're going to be working with when it comes to some sort of internet bits and bobs. Lovely chap. That was quite interesting. Taking a look at the website. Thought of a new name for the website, by the way, Kate. I haven't told you this, but I thought everyholesagoal.com might be.
I think you've cracked
that is a different kind of implant. Let's not go there.
Yeah, you might be. Getting a different
sort of phone calls.
Might already be taken.
Yeah, I've got that one. Sorry.
Well, it says it's what we do. And then moving on swiftly, down in Wales, in Newtown again, sort of midweek. Again, lots of mixing. I think, Will, what you were talking about is something that I kind of feel sometimes. If we do lots of kind of single unit, simple cases, I kind of get a hankering for doing kind of more of the complex work. And then if we have a run of sort of consultations, I kind of want to get my hands back into going to do some surgery. I don't like a full day of all consultations or all single units, or even a week of it. And then when we get kind of lots of the full arch immediate cases, or the full arch cases and the complex work, I look forward to doing a single straightforward one. I think it's, I don't know whether it's the way we are, it's that kind of mix. So I wouldn't like to work in a practice where it was all the complicated cases. I mean, as much as I admire what Evo do and their clinicians, for me, I think that might get a little bit like how I felt with the general dentistry. And I take my hats off to the people that do the general dentistry day in, day out, because that was something that just, for me, it just didn't tick my box. I wanted to just have a bit more variation and that change in what we do. I like that change. I like that constant difference.
Well, I think, and burnout's a problem in dentistry, I think, as well. Especially people who've spent a lot of time at the coalface, maybe more so in NHS practices. I remember, again, when I was, in NHS dentistry, and, you get to a point where you're kind of thinking, oh, they keep coming,
Yeah.
It's like a conveyor belt.
It is, yeah. I'd remember those mornings, as they used to say, where you'd have a full waiting room and a full bladder, and you couldn't do much about either. So, that was my experience of NHS dentistry.
Yeah, and
it's more important now as I get older, may I say. Those little breaks.
It's on those journeys to Wales, I've noticed that when I get there, I've got to go to that toilet. Yeah, you're right. It never used to be like that.
Got to make the right decision.
I've brought one of those little bags. When you, and the other thing today was a block graft, which wasn't a block graft, but it was a block graft. So using
hang on, when is a block graft not a block graft?
Yeah, well, I didn't take a block of bone from the patient and put it somewhere else.
Somebody else who was nearby. Somebody else who was nearby.
Yeah.
Well done, Kate.
I'll have that, please. So basically, it needed a big chunk of bone replacing, and we used some of the lamina bone, the cortical lamina, and used some particulate on that to rebuild it and sort of tack that in nicely. So it didn't kind of, I don't know about using big blocks of bone and taking them from the chin and using that, when this seemed to just be the right thing to do. So it was quite a nice little bit of sort of advanced, I wouldn't say it was massively complex, advanced surgery where we didn't have to hack away at the chin to do the repair. And a lovely chap.
I was going to say, to be fair, the patient was that laid back, you could have hacked at his chin.
Do you know what? Yeah, absolutely.
He was thanking us on the way out. Oh, do you know what? That was done so smoothly and so wonderful. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
Yes. Yeah. And that's my week wrapped up.
Yeah, I'm not a chin man. I don't.
More legs.
Yeah. He's on one today, isn't he? He's getting properly bringing the tone down from the usual high-class conversations that we have.
So, Will, you mentioned the immediate full arch, and as I've said, generally we have loads of dental people obviously watching, listening to this, but we also know that there are people out there that aren't. So immediate full arch, pro arch, teeth in a day, things like that, that's when there's a lot of implants being used. And pretty much a day case. And when I say versus, I don't mean particularly much versus, but when we're talking about the single implants, or even if you're doing 2 implants and the 3-unit bridge, we've had a couple of conversations lately, because some of the perception of some of the support teams, and they were just chit-chatting with us, is that financially that you'd be better off doing the immediate full arches, etc., because of the price tag. But it's not always the case, because they don't actually realise how much all the component cost, the time, the lab. And it was something we've been chatting about a bit, Carl, isn't it, lately, with some of the support staff, funny enough.
I think because
they just perceived that doing a day case would be
Yeah,
would
so
be better.
probably if you looked at your day and the amount of money that hits the till on that day, it probably looks amazing. I mean, and it is a significant amount of money. However, if you're sort of doing a bit of an audit trail on the whole case from start to finish, yes, that day looks great. However, as you know, especially if you're doing an analog definitive bridge or denture afterwards. So for those that don't know, that bridge that goes in on the day is a temporary bridge, and that's meant to last about 3 months, give or take. And it can be there for much longer, depends on your preference. So that means, and certainly in my hands, if I'm going down the analog route, which obviously I do, you're going to be spending time taking impressions, starting again, having verification jigs, having bite reg, try-ins, Does everything work first time with your verification jig? No, not always in my hands. So
same here.
so that's another appointment, and then a try-in, and the patient doesn't like the tooth that's there because that needs to be there, and it doesn't look like how my teeth used to look when I was 18, and all this sort of stuff. So I dare say, if you looked at, sometimes, just for fun and to depress myself, I get to the end of one of these cases and I can see, there might have been 12, 15 appointments to finish it all off.
Yeah.
So there you go, do the maths, add up the hourly rate, and suddenly, it's not quite, the big lump of cash that perhaps it seemed.
And I can understand why it would seem to be, a large amount. But as you've just said, when you do break it down, funny enough, the time spent, that's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why the Evo dental model that we've talked about is very clever, because they cut out all of that time that you and I might be faffing around trying things in, and will literally, maybe everything's done in 2 or 3 visits, including your definitive. So it's like any process in business, it's all about systems and efficiency. And I think for any business to be successful, then these are the key factors, aren't they?
100%. Yeah.
I picked up the word efficient there, Will, and I'll tell you what, I do agree. What about you, Carl Corson?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. I mean, it all looks lovely when you see the turnover coming in, and you've got to remember that's the turnover, but it's not the take home, because the amount of time that you put in behind the scenes that isn't seen, the planning, putting it together, the liaising with whoever's going to be making the bridge. And then, like Will said, the try-in, the retry-in, if that's not quite right, the re-try-in, if that's not quite right. And then sometimes you get issues afterwards. It's not always perfect. So sometimes the phonetics, so the patient might get a little bit of air as they're singing their hymns or whatever it is that they do. There might be a little bit of food trapping here, or the bite might not feel perfect. It might be okay to us, but they might be catching a cheek or a lip, and you might need to adjust this and that. And there's all those tiny little details that take time to fix, and that's why it's complex work. And obviously, me not being heard when I said to my little boy, "Please don't shout, we're going online."
Is he trying to get out the cellar again?
Yeah. Do you know what? The gag keeps slipping. That's the problem.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it is a Friday night. Let him out just for an hour.
Go on, we'll give him an hour.
An hour's more than enough.
As police turn up at your house.
How are you guys finding the patients now with COVID? And the reason why I asked that, I mean, I was wondering whether we'd get to this stage, or when we'd get to this stage, because people, obviously we were in lockdown. Then when people came out, everybody was really anxious, masks on, expecting you to be able to look through their masks because they were that anxious, blah, blah, blah. Then came the more relaxed stage. So, masks off, that they have to be reminded, actually, we're just going from the surgery to reception. Can you pop your mask back on? But now I'm starting to hear, I don't know if you guys are, people starting to say, well, wait for it to come round again. Winter's coming. And I thought, we've got to that stage now. That's the next bit. Well, winter's coming. It'll come again.
I think there's probably an element of prophecy of doom going around all over, and just from the media and the news, it certainly seems like there's predictions of this sort of thing going on. In terms of patients, I think it's just hugely variable, from people who are lying down who almost don't want to take their mask off to have their dental treatment, to people who've got it around their chin, to people who haven't got it at all, who are coming in, giving you a hug and, that kind of thing. So, yeah, patients, I think, are a sort of mixed bunch, really. But I think the emphasis is probably going to change, I suspect, as we get into flu season. I don't know whether certain elements or certain more vulnerable groups might find on balance they want to stay at home.
Why do we get an increase in flu during this time of year when it gets colder?
Because we're inside a lot more.
Okay. I know. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was a rhetorical question.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean,
send your answers in, everybody.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? It's because we're kind of closing windows, maybe indoors a bit more. But do you think that? I mean, certainly from what we've seen last year, the flu dropped, didn't it? The incidence of flu, because of the measures that people were taking with the COVID measures.
Yeah.
I would imagine those COVID measures aren't going to change a great deal. So people are still going to be using some, they will a little bit, but there will still be those people that are vulnerable, I would have thought, worried about COVID, still using the same measures. So I would imagine, I agree with you, Will. I think the doom and gloom people are there and they're saying all these things, but I think we're probably going to see something similar, because COVID's kind of almost ingrained now.
Yes. Yeah.
With what, 2 years almost? Coming up for?
Coming up to March.
Yeah. So that kind of behavior, I think, is kind of, fallen over and into how people will behave if they feel vulnerable at COVID. So I don't think we're going to see from my point of view, you got the vaccinated now, and you've got people that feel vulnerable, so they understand how to protect themselves a little better, maybe. So maybe it will rise a little bit, but I would hope that we won't see this huge increase just because it's what we call flu season.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Yeah, unless there's another variant.
I mean,
that kicks off, the epsilon or the whatever, the foxtrot or whatever it's going to be.
I've noticed they've started doing that using Greek letters. So they started off with obviously countries. So they didn't like India, they didn't like South Africa, they didn't like Kent.
Didn't like Kent. But
specific to an actual. No, they didn't want to say England. So they said, you know what, we'll say Kent. It's a big county. It's one of the biggest counties, isn't it? Really. So we'll say that. We can spread it out a little bit. Then, surprised didn't say something like Colchester,
the Colchester variant,
or Brentford.
Could be nasty. Yeah, could be nasty. Mind you and I discovered the Welsh variant, didn't we? So we didn't get the credit for that. No. I was expecting like a Nobel Prize for science.
Well, maybe when it comes around to W.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. We'll be ready and waiting.
Or was it C?
Oh, I see what you're doing there.
Wow.
Cymru.
Yeah.
And of course, the boosters. The boosters should be getting their little heads out again.
Yeah. Well, I think that sounds like that's coming out for the more vulnerable, probably not for the likes of us. Healthy young individuals.
Yeah, under 50.
Yeah. Thanks very much. You had to say it, didn't you? You had to say it.
I find it depressing when they say it. I've got to be honest. When I hear, for the over 50s, you can have your booster. I'm thinking, no, I don't want to. No.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm still 18.
I know.
Are you over 50, Carl?
No. No.
Next, Will, you're going to tell me you are. Get out of it.
Not yet. God, come on.
Yeah.
Go on.
You've got plenty of time left.
Got another 10 years yet. But I mean, well, and the 12 to is it 12 to what age group did they say now? 12 to
is it 16?
15.
12 to
whatever.
Yeah. They'll be giving them the vote soon. If you can get vaccinated, you can vote. They'll probably vote. Who would they vote for? Who would
they
they vote?
vote for?
Yeah,
They vote
Epic
for Kim
Fortnite.
Kardashian, I think. She'd be prime minister by now.
Absolutely brilliant.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh my goodness. What about the week ahead, gentlemen?
The week or the
Or do you
weekend?
not? No, the week. The week. Or are you
Uh,
two the kind of people that don't look at what happens next Monday onwards until Monday morning?
Let me just have a little look.
We-
Actually.
Yeah, yeah.
We wait for texts to come through from people who
Yeah.
know what's going on generally.
Where are you?
Oh,
Yeah.
have you got enough implants for X, Y, Z? Do we need to order more bone material? Da, 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 da. So yes, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh.
All I can see is lots of colours on the day sheet all the way through every day. So I know
You
it's
sound like you're well looked after, Mr.
it's
Murphy.
head down, drill in hand, titanium in the other, and off we go.
Perfect.
It's all good with
That
me.
sounds
All
perfect.
good with me. And,
Well, it works.
Yeah.
It works. So that's good. Now, Mr. Murphy, we know that you're going to be heading off, so
Yep.
we shall keep you no longer. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out there, thank you very much for joining us. It's lovely to be
Thank you.
back.
Have
Hope
a
you all
lovely
have
evening,
a
Will.
lovely weekend. See you next week.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
He's gone.